Guess what? 80% of SaaS product features are rarely or never used. That's why in today's episode, we'll focus on that never-ending to-do list, bloating of roadmaps, and how to make better decisions about which features to build and which ones to bin. Let's dig in. Hey, so today we're going to talk about features.
Yeah, looks like it.
Yeah, features. So 80% of features in SaaS products are rarely or never used. Can you believe that? 80%.
That's shocking. That's absolutely shocking. So that basically means that if you have, let's say, £100,000 or dollars to spend on your application or platform, it means that 80,000 of that money is like thrown away, burned, like never used. That's pretty horrible.
Completely wasted. Yep. So $29.5 billion spent annually on unused features.
Yes, it's shocking. Like how many other things we could be doing with that money? And I recently read somewhere that 6.4% of actual features of the functionality of the platforms drive 80% of clicks. So only 6%, roughly, all of the features drive 80% of interaction.
Yeah, that's that well-known, what is the rule? The 80-20?
Oh, Pareto.
Oh, what's that? Pareto.
Yeah. 80-20.
Yeah, that's it, playing it out in the tech world.
That's right.
Love it. Okay, in today's episode, we're saying more features doesn't mean more value. And that's what those stats clearly suggest. So along with that, we're going to look at like the 9 main reasons why teams add too many features. Ninth one is my favorite, so hang around for that one. And what happens if we don't cut down your features, and how to trim your existing features, reset your roadmap, and focus on what really matters for your users.
Right. So when we're talking about features, right, because like not everybody can understand that word.
Yeah, good point.
Features really are just like different types of things that your application does, right? So like adding a new card could be a feature, or like serving in a certain way customer could be a feature. So it could be very big or very small, the features, right? It's kind of like
filtering
can be a feature. So it's kind of like different functionalities that we add to our application.
That's it.
So, and there is a belief that if we're adding a lot of features, a lot of functionality to our platform, that equals progress. It definitely feels like we're doing something.
Yeah.
And so let's cover this 9 reasons why it's actually happening, right? Because everyone who we worked with, everyone who we are working with, they have, and you probably also have, if you're listening to this, a huge list of like nice things to have, features, like endless probably, of what you want to add to your application. So
everyone loves a list.
I mean, I love lists.
I love lists. I'm the king of list making.
Are you? Okay. All right, cool. Let's dig into the main reasons why this is happening and why it's like such a amazing trap. So first of all, and I think that's the biggest one, we very often rely on our assumptions rather than research.
Yep.
So we actually don't really know what our niche or now our ICP really wants. So we kind of guessing and adding things, and we see something in competitors list, and we're like, yeah, we really want this.
Yeah, I'm working with a founder at the moment, actually, and we've taken that route of trying to understand the market through surveys. Controversial, but we did a great job, and he's engaged a developer, so they've sort of got really excited and then started talking to the developers like, what do you want to build? We need to understand all these things. So then they started mapping out tables, and it's just fascinating because I can just like see firsthand how that thing happens, where it's like, okay, we want this feature to do this, okay, cool, but what are the options on this feature? And when you haven't got your like insights, user research to back up why that feature is happening and what are the requirements of that feature, it's like you just basing it on thin air and assumptions.
Exactly. So number 2 reason for growing huge amount of features in your application is obviously building for investors rather than for your users. And like I mentioned before, because it feels like there's a lot of work going on and we have lists of things, only because, but by the way, if only because we have a list of things, it doesn't mean that it actually makes any sense.
Yeah.
Or it has any value whatsoever.
Yep.
Because, and I've seen it before in one company, I really liked it. They had actually a list of potential features that we will build, but they were testing them. And next to each feature in the table, they were putting like, how much of an impact is it for the users? How valuable it would be for the users. So they had a rating, and how valuable it would be for business.
Okay.
So that was a very interesting approach, and that was helping them to prioritize those features.
Did it work?
I think it was actually working pretty well.
So
but
after building, the data reflected the assumptions there.
I think it can, because it's never going to be 100%, right? But I think there was something around that. So
Cool.
that's an interesting approach.
Yeah, that's good.
Okay, number 3.
I guess it's
Okay.
as long as it's with data.
Yes,
Is it
as long as
actually-
it's supported by data,
Yeah.
I'm a big fan of good lists that make sense. But also, data helps you prioritize, right? Because
Yeah.
we might have such a long list of things that we want to do with our platform, but we always need to prioritize, and prioritization needs to be based on data.
Yep, cool.
Okay, reason number 3 why we're adding so many features to platforms is trying to get all possible market size and go really, really wide.
Sounds like a social network site.
Well, but you're saying that, but actually Facebook started with only Stanford University, right? So it started with actually a really small group of people.
Yeah.
And then when it was successful and it proven some kind of idea, then they started growing. So they didn't go to the entire market straight away. They actually started really small.
So you targeting small. Be
Yes.
specific on who it is you're looking to cater for.
Yes,
the
but-
Facebook example is good because it was like, oh, my university and people on campus that are interested in this. So they were specific rather than going, can we service the whole one?
Yes, the opposite of that is going and trying to capture everyone, and then your list of features will grow.
Yeah, or
massively.
as often is said, who's your target audience? Oh, it's this demographic.
Yes, so it's like anyone, millennials, that's my favorite, millennials or Gen Z.
Yeah.
Which
It's too wide.
It's
is
too
what is
wide.
problem about the demographics is you lose the different behaviors. So
Yes.
within a demographic, you could have like hundreds of different behaviors.
Yeah,
So the
exactly.
demographic doesn't really tell you too much around
And-
what the user might need when it comes to solving their problem from a tech platform.
Yeah, and that reminds me on one of the clients that we both worked with a couple of years ago. And I think his approach was, we want to target millennials only because millennials are okay with open banking. And we were trying to work out, like, how did he get that stat? Where did he get that from? And really, when we did some work together with him and did like analysis and research, he did say that he didn't realize that actually that didn't make sense at all, because within the millennials, which is a huge group, by the way, you have subgroups of some people being okay with open banking, but other people not really okay with open banking at all. Yeah. And then you also have people who are, much older than millennials, and they can be okay with open banking. So that kind of like trying to go really, really wide is the reason why people create so many features, because they don't know exactly their market.
Yeah.
Okay. Number 4, why we adding so many features is because companies don't really measure the activation metrics, right? So they actually don't know which features are used and which features are not used. There's a lot of guessing. I mean, and I think it's quite human thing. We don't really want to add like more work for ourselves and set up analytics to track everything that is happening, what people clicking on. It's like a lot of work, and then you don't know if it's going to actually work for you.
Yeah, if you've got like really good momentum and speed and you're shipping stuff quickly, you can see how that would be a problem.
Yeah, but if you can start really small and just see if people actually just clicking on particular button.
Yeah.
So they go and do action that you're hoping they would do.
Or run some usability testing.
Yeah, usability testing as well, but you can do it on scale, right? We need to see it on scale. So actually monitoring in analytics would be very, very helpful.
Yep.
Okay, reason Reason number 5, why companies love to build huge, well, not love, but it actually happens that they build huge list of features and adding features to a platform is misunderstanding really what MVP actually is, right? So trying to build a final product, and that applies mostly for earlier stage companies, but they trying to build the whole final product in the first iteration. And that actually results in the huge amount of features that not necessarily will be ever used.
Yeah, if you're confused over what the concept of MVP is, Eric Ries is book The Lean Startup is a great one to reference. He's got some awesome case studies in there, but I think my favorite one is Dropbox. So obviously we know what Dropbox is, this kind of cloud system for storing your files remotely, but to build that straight away, massive complexity and huge development cost. So when they initiated that idea, they actually pulled together a kind of MVP video, just a 3-minute explainer to say, this is the idea, and if you're interested, join a waiting list. And I think Daniel Priestley says about how amazing the concept of a wait list is around proving an idea, and it's great because it shows that people are actually interested in something. So Dropbox did that. They grew their wait list from 5,000 to 75,000 just over the course of a night from this 3-minute video. So thinking about really how can you proof a concept or idea before committing. We had a conversation actually on the academy we were on yesterday. Someone was sharing their idea and going straight from, okay, here's my idea. How will I actually implement that? Talking about the costs of subscription boxes and buying products. And,
overhead costs.
Yeah, before thinking, okay, wait, there's this whole bit in the middle of does actually anyone want that? The sooner you can start validating your concept or idea, the better, because actually that's how you build anything that works, is use your audience, and you're pulling information, what you have in your head, and then when you put it out in the real world, there's always a bit of a jiggery pokery needs to happen. And
I mean, everything makes sense in my head.
Yeah. I'm still trying to work that out, actually.
Yeah, but it's a really good point. I remember one founder who was doing some kind of courses or something, and he didn't really want to invest into big platform or anything like that. And I remember he actually used Dropbox to upload his videos to Dropbox initially without setting up any platform, not paying for anything, just literally have videos on Dropbox.
Is my content helpful?
Yeah, is my content helpful? That's it. It's such a great test.
Yeah.
All right, cool.
It was educational platform service. So that's how he was sharing his stuff. Dropbox.
I don't remember exactly who that was, but anyway.
And you got your offer app experience.
Oh, yeah. So, there was one client who were working on the offer app, and initial kind of testing they were running is more like sending emails with offers rather than building the actual application, which I think is much cheaper.
Yeah. Are these offers of interest?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Reason number 6 for why we're building so many features in the platforms is panicking and trying to get more paying users. So what we see very often is founders build something or tech business that is going for a while, but they don't see a lot of people paying them. So they try and guessing which features to add that people will start paying them. And that actually creates the opposite effect, because the obviously platform becomes more and more confusing, how to use it, because you're adding constantly things to that, and you actually can have the opposite effect and paying people confused with it, and actually even less people paying you.
Yeah, it's if you have any question about what it is you should build or need to build, it's a clear indicator you need to do some research and speak with your customers and define.
I mean, we're gonna sound like a broken record, I think, in many of those podcasts.
I think we already do.
If you are not sure what's going on, talk to your users in a specific way, of course, we always say. Okay, so reason number 7 we build too many features is the fear of missing out and being behind your competition, so pressure from competition. So I've seen it many times, and it's not just for startups, it's for big companies or middle-sized companies. They like to look at what competitors are doing and copying exactly what the competitors have and putting it in their platform.
Yeah.
Have you seen that, Simon?
Yeah, let's all just make the same thing.
Yeah, so everybody has the same platform.
Yeah, it always frazzles my mind when I'm with a big company, and that is the kind of approach. What's the competitors doing? Because often, if it's not in the tech sector, the business is way behind in what they could do with tech. So I would always look at, okay, what's actually happening in the startup world, because the solutions are light years ahead of certain sectors. So yeah, I think looking at competitors is, yeah.
I mean, it's one thing you can do for sure. I mean, I remember one project I worked on, and we even had a whole table of different features and which competitors have it and which competitors don't have it.
There's a whole strategy. Yeah, there's a process of competitor analysis, and that is helpful maybe if you're in a really crowded market and you want to go, okay, where can we become like a differentiator?
Well, that's not why they were doing that. They just wanted to copy exactly every possible feature that competitor has.
Yeah, but that's the point of doing competitor analysis, is to go, okay, what features are covered?
Yeah.
And how can we be different and like slice out a piece of this pie?
I mean, to a certain degree, I understand this approach, because you want to, in some cases, like you said, in the very complex platforms, you might just want to make sure that you offer the same thing as your competitor and more.
Yeah.
Totally makes sense.
Yeah.
But if we just take whatever competitor have and implement on our platform without validating if it's applicable for our customers, there's a couple of things, right?
Another good point there.
Well, first of all, we never know if this particular feature really works for a competitor, right? They might have, only because they have feature, doesn't mean that actually brings money, that feature. So we potentially might be copying something that doesn't bring any money.
Yeah.
Right. And
well,
second of all,
if in the industry, every business is looking at their competitors.
Yes, we'll end up with exactly the same thing, right? But the other problem with this is that we will never have any differentiation if we just copying the competitors, right? Mm-hmm. So we're not going to have anything that makes us different. And understanding how to be different comes not from your competitors, it comes from actually users and understanding what actually users want. Okay, so copying from competitors can create this endless list of features. And that happens with everyone, big companies, small companies, anyone. Okay, reason number 8 for having too many features is also no framework or sort of way of prioritization that will tell you which things are more important and which ones are like nice to have, right? So without that kind of framework to test the ideas, you just literally just guessing which feature should be adding next. And that takes us kind of like a really long time to work out what are the best frameworks to use for us when we're working with our clients, what is the quickest and the most effective frameworks to validate ideas and actually prioritize. And you know that if we make this change, we really are going to impact our bottom line, right? So I think companies really like that.
Yeah, I think it's understanding the problem and all of the different branches off of that problem. And that's where the features really should align, mapping with that qualitative data of your customers and all the different segments of the customer base and how their problems differentiate from one to another. Give an example of that. One client I had in the States, a veterinarian firm, they've been going for like 40 years. They were taking their, what they did, they were a publishing company and they were taking their tools online and digging into their customer base. They had like quite different customer segments which had different requirements. And so one of them was, it was like GP vets, so they're general practice, and then also emergency vets. So they had like quite different requirements. Like the emergency vets were dealing with much more complicated cases, like animals on more drugs. So they required a bit more from the application. So that sort of leaps into the feature prioritization and understanding. So there's like a direct map of your customers' needs to what's actually in the features of the app. Am I waffling or
No,
does
it's
that
good.
make sense?
It makes sense.
I
Totally
was
makes
on line
sense.
with that point.
No, you provide usually a lot of context of the projects, which I absolutely love, and we can kind of like dig deeper in that. But it totally made sense what you said. The ability, so some kind of like.
I was trying to give an
framework.
example of like what that is, because when we say qualitative data and, you know, talk about the problems, it's kind of quite hard to understand what that actually means. So a real world example of the different types of vets and what they would need, you know, then that aligns with the product.
And then you can prioritize better, because also you can look at which ones of them brings more money.
Exactly.
Which ones of them is more active on your application.
But how big is the market for general practice veterinarians
versus
the emergency services? Maybe the in that particular app they had a specific feature for those more complex cases where they were kind of looking at multiple drug use to see where the issues might lie. If one pet was on 3-4 of them, are there going to be some, you know,
it's really like heavy drug users, those
some
animals.
you wouldn't believe it, actually. Diabetes and all that kind of stuff is all prevalent in that world. But that was helping with the prioritization of the roadmap, the features.
So again, it goes back to understanding your customer base.
Exactly.
Not just like guessing it.
Yeah.
Okay, last one, but not the least, is listening to every user request. So that's like if you start listening to each of the users that you have interviews with and test with, that you might start creating too many different features and for like, you know, one person features kind of thing, which is why we constantly, I don't know if you said that on the episode or not, but we always looking for patterns. We're not looking for one person saying something. Okay. Yes. Cool. And I really like this quote from CEO of Basecamp, who said, breaking through to a better idea by subtraction rather than addition is the most satisfying kind of breakthrough. And I love it. And it really nicely align also with all what Steve Jobs always says about the simplicity of things, and actually making something simple is much more difficult than making something very complex and busy, right?
Yeah.
And that's what we don't want. And that's why we don't want to create so many features.
Yeah, I think the tendency is to add.
Yeah.
If you want to fix is to add.
Because you feel like you're doing something. And I'm similar. I need to stop myself and kind of always be like, oh, is this actually adding any value?
Yeah, absolutely. So what happens if we don't stop adding features? 10 points.
Okay, let's go.
Okay, first one, cognitive overload.
For the users.
Yeah, for the users. So an excess of features can be overwhelming.
Yeah, like it's like they call it decision paralysis or options paralysis.
Yeah.
Like you have too many options, you might not make any decision.
Yeah, exactly. And it becomes like difficult to then grasp what the product's kind of core value is quickly. And the complexity can like often lead to user frustration or even abandonment.
Yeah.
We've all been there, you know, when you land on some products or you're involved in a process and you get sent something to fill in. And
I mean, a great example of that is if let's say you have a airline. If you have going back to airlines,
that's exactly what comes to
we
my
have
head.
like damage there. Anyway, so you have application for booking, your seats or flights. Just make that main call to action, because make everything secondary call to action, right? So whatever is the main goal of your platform, always make the next step very obvious, right? So whatever is the next step on this page or that page.
Yeah, again, I think it comes from like a lack of clarity of what your customer is trying to achieve, and therefore what you're trying to deliver for them. So that's why then there becomes no like hierarchy or understanding of what's going to be most important. Okay, point 2. Increased development and maintenance costs. So maintaining a bloated feature set requires more resources, leading to a higher development and maintenance expenses, right? Mm-hmm. You just continually add.
Yeah, if you're adding a new feature, you have to test the previous feature, right? So you constantly your testing scripts and so on growing constantly.
Yeah, 100%. And if we continue adding features, we're slowing the product updates because, like you said, with the cost, you need to check. You got a QA. It's going to kind of slow down your whole development cycle. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Challenging in scaling. So the more features we're adding, additional edge cases, more complexities, this is going to make it like harder to scale products efficiently. 5, diluting the market fit. If we're trying to add more features and we're not aligning with our core user needs, this can kind of like blur the product's value proposition. You know, when we're talking about the marketing pages and people come in, they're kind of like, oh,
which features do you advertise then?
Yeah.
Because you like have so many.
Yeah, exactly. You just a sea of features. It's like, oh, what does it actually do? What's the big problem that we're trying to solve? Okay, and again, adding features is going to confuse your analytics.
Because you will be tracking so many data points. Like, well, they actually not going to tell you anything.
Yeah, it's going to slow everything down, really. Sales and marketing confusion with more features. Again, we kind of like covered that.
Communication would be confusing, right?
Yeah. 9, the team burnout.
Yeah, that's like a big one, I would say.
Your developers are kind of like running around trying to deliver stuff. The product team are working on things depending on how big you are. Marketing have then got more stuff to sell.
If you are the only developer in the company, I tell you, you'll be pretty frustrated.
Yeah, especially when it's not kind of converting, growing. No positive news is never good for anyone. And point 10, final point on like what happens if we don't stop adding features. Endless support and feedback loops. So the more features can lead to even more support tickets, feedback, straining customer service resources.
Yes. Okay, cool. Well, let's talk about really quickly about real life example. And I really like this one. A real life example of what actually happens if we get super obsessed about features and get super excited, right? I don't know if you remember application called Clubhouse.
Yeah, I've heard on the kind of grapevine. I wasn't never sort of involved, but I
think we both were invited by some of our friends, and then we never joined. And I think by the time I remember that we were invited, I think it went bankrupt, or something happened to it. I don't know if it's still going. Maybe it's still going.
I don't think it is.
Anyway, so around 2021. Clubhouse, this kind of idea of like little clubs and people inviting each other in this kind of rooms and communities. Really cool idea.
It may be ahead of its time. Because
maybe.
There's lots of
communities
now. Yeah, I've heard there is a wave of people moving off of social media into kind of WhatsApp groups and
more
communities.
Like themed areas. So maybe they'll come back. Who knows? Yep. But the point is that the Clubhouse in 2021, they are doing really, really well. Everybody was super obsessed about it. And I was feeling like a fear of missing out a little bit around that, waiting for somebody to invite me.
You were?
I think so. Yeah, I was. I'm always like, oh my God, like I'm not popular enough.
Wait, but you got an invite and you didn't?
Yeah, but that's the paradox of my personality. It's like, now that you want me, I don't want you. so I got invited, but anyway, that's not the story. The story was that they were doing really well, but when they launched, I think they only had iOS application. And instead of launching Android application at the same time, I think they didn't actually do that and continue expand only iOS. Adding new things like monetization, rooms, like tipping and things like that. And I think by the time they have launched Android, the hype was over, and I think other competitors kind of took over, and that was kind of it. But the story here is that if we get too obsessed of like additional things, additional features, and don't observe the market and where actually our users' needs are, we can kind of miss the train. And I think that's what could have happened, what actually happened to Clubhouse. Because what instead they could have done is like launch at the same time with minimum features to Android and get that market as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So how to cut existing features and reset your roadmap.
That's actually the most important, I think, part of our session today. How to actually get rid of the features that you already have that are not actually doing anything, and how to cut them out from the future in your roadmap.
Yeah, great. So for someone that's already built a product, measure your feature usage. I think you were talking about this, like the activation of your features, right?
Yes, exactly. You just need to set up analytics. There's a couple of companies and tools. We're not going to go deeper into that, but just get the tool that works for you, quickly set up, and start measuring the usage of people just clicking on the button to begin with.
Yeah, there's plenty of tools for that. And for future features on your roadmap?
Right. This is actually easier because you didn't actually build anything yet.
Yeah.
So
this is actually better.
It's actually better, and this is like great place to start.
Yeah, so the first point is to talk to your users. Can you believe it?
The surprise.
Bias, confirmation, recency, proximity, and sunk cost fallacy.
Well, this is basically, when we're talking to our users, just make sure that you are aware of all of those biases that we have. We covered that in some other episodes about best ways of doing collecting user feedback. So we cover those biases, but actually being really aware that we have all of those biases that actually blocking us from collecting feedback correctly.
Yeah, so we're collecting the qualitative data from our users and the quantitative data from the
also users.
Analytics. Yeah, also from users.
Yeah.
The features that you've already built, like, are they being used or not?
No, wait. We're talking about the actual stuff on the roadmap. So if we have stuff on the roadmap, we want to probably look at the features and then maybe build some kind of prototypes and sort of analyze whether those prototypes actually making sense for them.
Got you. More features that don't align with your users need an ideation tab.
Well, if you're using like Excel spreadsheet, you can have ideation tab.
Oh, I see.
You can put it there and forget about them.
Oh, okay. So you sort of like move them that don't align with what your users are saying into an ideation tab.
Yeah, but never
Close
go back
it,
there.
delete it,
Yeah.
and remove it forever.
Yeah, that's right.
Test before you build. Make sure whatever you are thinking is going to work and is aligned for your users, you actually like validate.
Mm-hmm.
Only launch the features that make a difference for your users and they say, I want this. When is this going live? Can I use it today? Really,
That's a good sign.
That is like the goal of any usability testing or testing any features or MVP. If you want to get to the point where the people you're speaking with actually are saying that to you.
Yeah. I had it a couple of times.
Yeah,
I
me
heard
too.
That. People actually do say that.
Yeah.
Businesses don't believe that users actually say that.
They're like, wait, can I use this?
Yeah. Is that already there?
How long is it going to be?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the dream. Always ask, if we were to deliver this feature, would life of our users improve?
I think this is like a groundbreaking question. And every team that is building anything should ask that question. Like, what is going to change for our customers, for our users, if we were to deliver this? I'm not kidding you. Sometimes companies spend lots of money to like deliver a button, and it doesn't make any difference for the customers, right? This is like on the flip side. Just think about it. Is it worth building? Is this worth actually doing? And how is it going to impact our users?
It's hard to believe that people actually don't ask that.
Well, I actually once introduced that in a very big company. And because we had like a massive roadmap, I started pushing everyone on every meeting to ask that question next to each of the features. And it actually was a great eye-opening because we are sometimes so into the task that we don't actually think anymore, don't question if it actually makes sense.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And ask yourself, if you only had 10% of your budget, would you still build this feature?
Oh, that's a heavy one.
Again, I say, if that is the beauty of bootstrapping, is you're forced into a situation where you have to, you're lucky if you have a budget, but you're always asking, is this gonna like be worth it? Why am I building this?
Yeah.
You're questioning. But when you don't and you have lots of investment, it can be easy to just get running down that road of building.
I've heard somebody recently said that why failure is amazing, because failure removes everything that is not needed, and you're left with only the things that are needed, like essential. So that's why I actually really resonated with me. And I thought, yeah, actually, when you're struggling, you actually remove everything else that doesn't support your goal.
Yeah, I like that tree. There's a quote from Warren Buffett that said, the difference between successful people and really successful people is that really successful people say no to almost everything.
Ooh,
I love
I should
that.
use that.
Yeah, yeah.
Next time you ask me to record the episode, I'll be like, no, I'm going to be doing something else.
Oh, will you? Okay.
Okay, cool. Let's move on to a summary of this episode. So we covered the reasons why actually people or startups and businesses create so many features. Now, it's important to remember that 80% of all tech products features are rarely or never ever used. So we're wasting 80% of money, effort, time, budget. And the worst thing is that we're wasting our focus because we actually could be working on something that is driving growth. Now, another thing to remember is adding features does not equal progress, which this is like a little bit of a trap. And we all feel like, okay, we have features building, we're actually doing stuff. And sometimes, or very often, companies build those features only on assumptions from investor pressures, fear of missing out, lack of prioritization, and which kind of leads to bloat, higher cost of scaling and maintenance, and obviously poor user experience because it's so busy. And as a result, also, we need to remember, like we do it for money, lower profits. Lastly, if you were to take away anything from this episode, or any episodes really we talk about, before you do anything, test and test again with your users. So use analytics to identify unused features and talk to your users strategically and apply prioritization frameworks to know which features are going to bring money.
Yeah, love it. Okay, here's a challenge for you. Look at your roadmap today. Cross out anything that doesn't move activation, retention, or revenue. Your product isn't missing features, it's missing focus. It's a nice line, that. Thanks for listening to Building Great Tech. If you like this and you feel like this episode has added value, please share it, send it to your team. We're always open to hearing questions. Ping us on LinkedIn, and we look forward to you joining us in the next episode.